talked about Tipton in a previous video, but now you wanted to mention another Saints wide receiver, A.T. Perry. I think you have some new news regarding his training camp. What's going on with Perry?
It's been a rocky ride with A.T. Perry this preseason. I am high on his skills. We had him as a top 3 wide receiver, talent-wise, scouting him pre-draft, last draft in a very weak wide receiver class. He ended up getting playing to end up being a 6th-round draft pick. He ended up getting playing time and had like 4 or 5 touchdowns last season. You could see the spark of that there was something there with A.T. Perry. So people were, had some level of enthusiasm for A.T. Perry going into this year. Well, it hasn't gone that well from the camp reports. When the coach comes out and says he's been, A.T. Perry's been fine, and this is Dennis Allen from like a week ago. A.T. Perry's is doing fine. He's having a good camp, but I'm waiting for him to take it to the next level. That to me means the coach is not satisfied. It didn't come across as he's trying to fire him up. Like, obviously he wants him. He would love it for him to just step up and emerge and grab the bull by the horns. But by him saying that means A.T. Perry hasn't grabbed the bull by the horns because the coach is asking him to grab the bull by the horns. So Perry, I assumed he was the no-brainer number 3 wide receiver for the Saints, but he's not. Cedric Wilson is working with the first team as the 3rd wide receiver. A.T. Perry spending most of his time with the 2nd team. There's a report out yesterday or today, I think it's yesterday, that A.T. Perry's starting to put it together in practices now. Like, the message got across. He had a couple touchdowns in practice and all that. But I just want to note for all the A.T. Perry lovers out there, of which I'm one of them, which I'm the chief A.T. Perry lover, because I think he was one of the top prospects talent-wise that I scouted last year. So I've been pounding the table for his talents. I thought it would take a while before he ever got into playing time, but then he got into it last year, and I'm like, okay, maybe this A.T. Perry thing's going to come on quicker than I thought. We finally are starting to get some good news, but we have to pump the brakes on it a little bit because it's mostly 2nd team work, and he should be dominating 2nd teams now. So he is doing that, but Cedric Wilson is the one I always see in the practice reports working with the first team. So there's still hope with A.T. Perry, but it's not where I wanted it to be or not where I thought it would be, and this recent good news maybe isn't as good as we think it is.
So, RC, it sounds like A.T. Perry, somebody that I remember you calling him out last year. Rocky start, to say the least, but looks like he's, against a lesser competition, against the 2s, he's at least holding up, looking good. We're not at a point where we want to hit the panic button with him yet, right? Like, we still want to hold him, see what he's going to do, but just want to be caught. We're throwing a red flag up.
I'd say a month ago in a redraft, when we get to the end of a typical 12-team redraft, I could see taking a flyer on A.T. Perry. Now, today, after what Dennis Allen said and watching all the Cedric Wilson firsthand, he's not somebody I'm reserving a last redraft pick with just to see how it works out. Olave is going to be the number 1. Shaheed's going to be the number 2. Jawan Johnson is high on the pecking order. Then you got Kamara, plus they want to run the ball. Perry is way down. If Perry is the number 3, or Wilson for that matter, they're at the bottom of the pecking order for targets. It's going to take some injuries. It's going to take some time for Perry to ascend. But if a Shaheed got hurt or Olave got hurt and that launched Perry, who's, I think, a better game player than a practice player, there's a chance Perry gets launched into being useful especially in non PPR because he's a good, really nice end zone worker. But it's dependent. It's dependent on injuries. It's not, I was hoping it would be him seizing the day, seizing the moment, and it just doesn't look like he's there yet.